Welcome into the Alabama Football Report. I am Tom Downey. Recruiting season is very much underway. The early national signing period gets started next week, later next week, of course. We're going to break down all the latest here going on around the recruiting cycle for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Here's where they currently sit in the recruiting rankings, a top 5 consensus class. Number 3 overall in the On3 rankings. Number 4 in the 24/7 Sports rankings. 4th overall on Rivals. The composites mostly have them at number 4 as well, behind, for the most part, likes of Georgia, Ohio State, etc. Most of that certainly does check out overall. So where will Alabama finish in the 2024 recruiting rankings? Will they be able to slide in a little bit higher? Will they be able to close and maybe gain some ground on at least Florida State, who's kind of that 3 team ahead of Alabama at 4. Catching Georgia, OSU might be a little bit tricky. But sound off for me in the comment section. Where does Bama finish in the 2024 recruiting rankings? Now, the one big thing this Crimson Tide team is trying to find at this point is a running back commit. The Tide do not have one at this moment. Keep that in mind as we go through some of the in-home visits, the visits coming to town, etc., as Bama wraps up some of the final days of the early recruiting period. Some notable in-home target visits that are happening here for the Crimson Tide. 2 backs on this list here. There's Kevin Riley, the 4-star back, who is currently a Miami commit. He is a top 100 player. Kewan Lacy is a top 300 player. A lot of again, it's all the projection stuff for the recruiting insiders, and those are always, they're hit and miss sometimes. Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't. Ole Miss, then Bama, and some Nebraska predictions in there for Kewan Lacy. 2 linebackers here as well. Miles Graham, who's been heavily linked to Florida. He is the number 51 recruit this cycle. Jayshon Ross, who is borderline photoshopped in that photo. Unbelievably ripped. 223 overall, he's a 4-star. And then Texas commit, the athlete/receiver Aaron Hampton, a 4-star as well. There are other in-home visits coming for players who are already committed to the Crimson Tide. Wide receiver Amari Jefferson, tight end Jay Lindsey, offensive lineman Casey Poe, William Sanders, defensive lineman Jeremiah Beeman, Isaiah Faga, Dre Kirkpatrick Jr., because, yes, we are doing the legacy recruits already for Nick Saban, and Red Morgan, the defensive back. So not allowing you to say, Julian Sayin, which Alabama football recruit are you most excited for? The ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there. Let me know which recruit you are most excited for. Speaking of Julian Sayin, the top recruit in this Alabama football recruiting cycle, or one of the top recruits, I should say. There's also the Ryan Williams change, kind of adjusts things there. This past Monday in-home visits, Julian Sayin, the 5-star recruit, the quarterback out of California. 4-star safety, the flip, Peyton Woodyard, who, of course, was a big get for the Crimson Tide there. And Zabien Brown, part of, I think, a pretty darn good secondary class this cycle for Alabama. They might try to get some transfers in there to give some short-term help, too, but a lot of talent there coming in the back end. Tuesday, today, as long as you're watching it on Tuesday, Jameer Grimsley, the 4-star athlete, and 3-star interior offensive lineman Joseph Ionata. Then on Wednesday, 4-star edge Sterling Dixon and 5-star athlete Jaylen Mbakwe. Basically, these are all the last time. Okay, hey, let's check in. You doing good? You excited to come? We got the spot for you. It's committable. You're going to commit. You're going to enroll early. Just, dotting your I's and crossing your T's, making sure there are no late flips in the process for Alabama, which teams will try. Teams will try to flip players from the Crimson Tide. Bama will try to flip players from other teams as well. But you got to just make sure you're taking care of business and not losing players late in the process and getting caught off guard by that, because that can lead to some chaos as you try to balance your numbers and balance your recruiting spreadsheet, if you will. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. I am a big fan of what Prize Picks offers. It is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform. It's just you against the numbers. I'm a huge fan of that. You can mix and match sports, NFL, NBA, NFL, college football in there as well. The reboot policy keeps your picks in play in the event of injury. Player goes down the first half, does not return. Your picks stay in play. It's basically injury insurance. And I love the flex play. We did not hit the Monday night bonus pick, so we're at 8 of my last 10, which is still really good overall. My picks this week for the NFL slate of games. Give me Lamar Jackson, more than passing yards. 224.5 against the Jags team that allowed a good amount to Joe Flacco, and Jake Browning seems suspiciously low, so love that line. Give me more than Jake Ferguson receiving yards against a Bills linebacking core that's had some issues this year, and more than Tony Pollard yards on the ground in a game that might have to run the ball quite a bit in what could be cold and windy conditions. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. But again, it's prizepicks.com/CLNS. We mentioned the state championship the other day for Ryan Williams, and then we'll focus on Jaylen Mbakwe now. Only 9 of 17 passing. This is just you're putting your best athlete at quarterback. He's not going to play quarterback for Alabama. He did have 26 carries for 282 yards and 4 touchdowns, though, which is it's just stupid high school stats. Just unbelievable results there for Mbakwe. So as an incoming true freshman, will he play meaningful snaps for Alabama? Assuming he does end up sitting on the defensive side of the football. Y for yes and for no, sound off in the comments section. All right, some more commits here as part of the Wednesday visits coming up here. 4-star wide receiver Rico Scott, trying to keep him in the fold. Guy that I am excited to see as long as Tommy Rees is your OC, which sounds like he's going to stick around. It's like he's not going to, Northwestern promoted the interim. Indiana going in different directions, so it sounds like he'll stay. Caleb Odom, the 4-star top 55 tight end. Very excited for that. Caden Jones, the 4-star linebacker as well. A lot of these commits are, barring some weird chaos stuff here, going to be eligible to enroll early and then join next week for bowl prep, which you kind of saw some stuff in years past of those recruits get in and you see some early flashes and that carries over to spring ball and end up making a big impact as freshmen. So excited to see how that all plays out. Eventually you'll hear more like once the season ends, the bowl game stuff ends and the CFP ends, you get some buzz of like, hey, this guy was really impressive in bowl prep, or at least did some good things, and we'll see if that carries over to the 2024 season for Alabama. Now let's look at some notable in-home visits that are not going to be Bama commits. So 4 uncommitted players on this list. First up is Solomon Williams, a 4-star edge, just outside the top 250. The name that I am watching the most here is Daniel Hill. You can go back to our preseason recruiting stuff, and we spent a lot of time on Daniel Hill. I am a bit surprised he is not yet committed. Bama, South Carolina kind of remain the top 2 threats there for Daniel Hill. Zay Mincy, a 4-star top 60 corner, has some Florida buzz on him. Favor Edwin, who is a 3-star top 800 recruit. Auburn buzz there, by the way, but Bama at least showing some interest. Jadan Baugh, who is an Arkansas commit, 4-star, top 400. Don't know if the Tide can flip him, but they are casting a wide net at running back, which I think makes some sense. Tristan Jernigan, the 3-star Texas A&M commit at linebacker, just out to the top 500. So Daniel Hill, where will he commit to? I'm leaning Alabama. I think that's my guess. I'm certainly not, having super high inside info, whatever. Where will he commit? A for Bama, E for elsewhere. Finally, some conversation here on the secondary, which I think is kind of fun. Kool-Aid McKinstry's gone. He's going to go to the NFL. Malachi Moore's gone. He'll go to the NFL. Jalen Keep maybe gets drafted later, or at least gets a UDFA shot. And at this point, I'm going to assume Terry Arnold's gone too. He's done a lot of first-round mock drafts. It would not surprise me if both Bama corners go in the first round, or at least go top 40 or whatever. So that's significant losses in the secondary for starters, with only Caleb Downs returning, and that leaves a lot of uncertainty. You'd probably bank on Trey Amos being one starter, but you might have to either get some transfers or lean on this class. And it is a good class, make no mistake. Jaylen Mbakwe is a 5-star athlete who's probably going to be able to play corner, or maybe try to do some fun stuff there at the star position potentially with him early on. Zabien Brown is a top 50 recruit as well as at corner. Peyton Woodyard is a top 300 recruit. Grimsley is in the same bucket there. Red Morgan has kind of been a nice little riser to a certain extent. Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. is kind of a lower ranked recruit, but he is still a 3-star, and he's, of course, you all know his dad. So big defensive back class for Alabama, which is good because you're probably going to lose 4 players to the NFL. We are 64 subs away from 11K. Help us get there. We will be live, of course, by the way, for the college football playoff semifinal and fingers crossed national championship. Make sure you're subbed, youtube.com/@RollTideTV.